For this next section, we're going to look at how I expect you to write an equation for a graph. And so the first thing is that you're always going to write an equation in the y equals mx plus b format, but you are going to plug in all of the different things based on the graph that you're given. So y needs to be the variable on the y-axis here. X needs to be x variable on the x-axis. Any slope needs to have numbers and units. Your vertical intercept or y-intercept needs to be a number with a unit. And then you need to have, anytime you have a number, you need to have a unit. Okay, so let's take a look at this. I'm going to go through these examples because I think it actually is easier if I just go through them. So for each of these, I'm going to start with y equals mx plus b. So y is the variable on the y-axis. So in this case, we're lucky because that's a y. And then for the m is slope. And if you remember, slope is equal to rise over run. Rise being how much it goes up. So this is going to be my rise. It starts at 3 and goes to 9. So in this case, my rise is 9 minus 3 because it starts at 3 and goes to 9. If you put 9, your rise is wrong. So just make sure that you're being careful there. And then, so that means that my rise is 6. And then I need to have units after it because it's a number. And the units are in parentheses. You could even think of it like the units have U's around it. So this would be 6 meters. And then for my run is how far to the right it goes. So it's going to start here and go to there. So it starts at 0 and it goes to 18. So 18 minus 0, this is going to be my run. And so my run is 18, and then I need units. So that'll be in seconds. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this down here for my slope. Now, a really common easy mistake is that as soon as students write letters, they forget that this whole thing is their slope. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put parentheses around it, not because I need parentheses, but because from my experience, then students make fewer mistakes if I put parentheses around the slope with units. And then I'm going to not forget this x variable. Now, in this case, my x variable is x. So that just goes there. So this will be times x. And then plus b. And the b is my y-intercept, which is where this line crashes into my y-axis. So this is going to be 3. And then units is m, or meters. So another way of thinking about units versus variables is with variables, if I put a number in front of it, it makes no sense. So for example, a variable might be time. So if I wrote 7 time, you would be very confused. But if I wrote a unit, let's say of seconds, and I wrote 7 seconds, you'd be like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yay! So units make sense, and variables do not make sense when you put a number there. So that's kind of an easy way of remembering that. All right, for this one, don't get too confused. Again, we're going to start with y equals mx plus b. But now for height, I don't just have height. I have height squared. So that's what's on my y-axis. So that's what's going to go into the y. And I'm going to go ahead and write it out. Once we start doing physics with real variables, you'll have a shortcut. Like, for example, velocity is v and time is t. But for right now, we're using kind of weird random stuff. So just go ahead and write the words. And then for my slope for this is just rise over run. And it goes up 28. And it's going to go over 7. Now, I could simplify this if I wanted to, but I highly recommend don't simplify it unless it's really easy to simplify it. I've had a lot of students make a lot of silly mistakes when they try to go ahead and simplify something and it's a little bit tricky. Just go with what's easy. Okay, and then this is how many times. And then I need units for that. So my units, well, the units for 28 was meters squared. The units for the 7 was years. So that means down here I'm going to have 28 meters squared per year. All right, now all of that is my slope, and we're not going to forget x. Here's my x variable. That's going to go in here. So x variable is age. And then for my y-intercept is actually 0. So I'm just, don't put anything there. Okay, we don't need to do a plus nothing. And that's it for number 2. I'll do a separate video for number 3 and 4.